We like to say that the well started as a joke because a friend of mine, knowing my family background, my family all being from Utah, dad's side of the family being from Utah, having been here all the summers growing up, et cetera, said, wouldn't it be funny if you planted a church in Utah one day? To which everybody laughed, knowing the context of that and the reality of that. But for me, it was like the proverbial light bulb went off. And it was in 2001 in Australia when I really do believe the Lord spoke to us about planting a church in Utah.
Jason felt in Bible college that he was called to Salt Lake City, Utah to plant a church. We would come out here every year and just pray like, Lord, is it time?
We wouldn't launch the church until February of 2013. So there was 12 years of journey on that. Everywhere from being a full-time painter, working at Red Robin, doing bivocational ministry, leading youth groups and young adults ministries, to being on staff at a church in Phoenix before we would eventually make the big leap to move from Phoenix to plant this church known as The Well.
For me, it's always like God said, go, we go. So ever since I was young, I've always said, wherever you want me to go, God, I'll go. So it wasn't scary. It was like an adventure and super exciting to me. I had no fear about whether he'd take care of us. I had no fear about whether he'd pay the bills. I had literally no fear about most of those things. And so it was actually a really beautiful, amazing process. Once we knew it was time to go, we felt a lot of confidence in just doing it.
So it's a really interesting process. 9 families came with us over and over and over, and many of those families are still here today. But you could ask those families that we didn't ask them, but the Lord led them.
I'm Pastor Seth Freeman, and my wife and I have been part of The Well since the very beginning. We both got challenged in very similar but distinct ways. The question was posed from the Lord of, are you going to build your own kingdom, or are you going to build my kingdom?
When God says do something, I'm going to do it. I might have an attitude about it, but I'm going to do it. But moving to Utah was not one of those things. Pastor Eric and Jason would be like, don't come if it's just for us. And I'm like, no. I'm not. I'm coming because God said so. So that's what we're going to do.
The decision to move out here was a big one. I would say I was always prepared for it. I would say from the very beginning. So 2007, Justin and I got married. Him and his brother Jason had a huge heart for Utah, and someday we would plant a church.
We decided to support the kids in ministry.
In Arizona.
Before
we moved here.
That was the plan, helping with the grandbabies. And we got there, and 6 months later, they said, and so I went in my closet and I looked up and I said, what the heck? And God said, if you would have known, you would have never moved out of Washington.
We used to tell the team, that those 9 initial families, that if you were coming to be a part of something, or you were coming just simply because we're friends or we're in a relationship, it's not good enough. In every aspect of our life, it's always responding to a call. And we used to say this, especially in the beginning years, and I think I believe this even more now, is that the call sustains you. Because when everything hits the fan, when it's hard, it doesn't make sense, the finances aren't there, things aren't working out the way that you wanted it to, the call will always sustain you. But if what you're doing is connected to a person or a thing or a system or an organization, those things they're not big enough to hold your attention. They're not big enough to hold your heart. But man, I've come to realize that when you know this is the call of God in your life, that is always enough to sustain you and hold you even in the most difficult of times.
So when we moved to Utah, you started planting a church by having launch team meetings, and we would have launch team meetings every week in our home. A lot of people in Utah had no idea what that meant because they've never heard of a church starting in Utah.
So we literally hit the ground when we got to Utah and put out the door hangers. I think 20,000 door hangers.
Yeah, door hangers were a thing.
We went out into the coffee shops, we were highways and byways kind of thing, went out and invited everyone to church. So launch Sunday, it was February 10th, 2013. And of course we were praying against snow, and of course we had 8 inches of snow.
I remember unloading the trailer and the ice and the snow in order to, get all the musical instruments, the PA setup, the lighting, the video, all the kids' equipment, stanchions and dividers and all the wayfinding signage.
I'll never forget neither will my father-in-law, pulling a trailer with our entire church in it in all of this snow. And on that day, all of this team and 35 people who had been gathering, got out and moved all this stuff in from a snowy outside to this massive auditorium at Olympus Junior High School. We had faith in pipe and drape.
I do remember seeing Pastor Jason, though, pacing, and I knew the look on his face. He was just worried that one person would show up that wasn't on team. And of course they did.
To see people walk through the doors and want to be a part of it, it was beautiful.
132 people showed up to church last Sunday in a 900-seat auditorium. It was awesome.
It wasn't so much seeing people there, it was the first hand raised for salvation. That was made it worth it. Made it all worth it.
To just step back and take it all in. It's just hard for me sometimes because I never look back at the first Sunday. I always look further back, like the Sundays in the living room and Eric and Angie's home worshiping. It was never like a race for numbers. It was always, let's steward what's right in front of us and God will take care of the rest.
I think in one weekend we were down to 60 adults and 20 kids, and I think most of those kids were from the original launch team.
My first impression of the church was the room was way too big for how many people were there. I went first to kind of check it out to make sure it wasn't a bunch of weirdos, but it was awesome.
It was so cool that it was just a handful of couples. And so when you talk about welcome home and it feeling like family, originally it ultimately was one big family.
9 months we'd spend at that school, and it'd fluctuate, and we'd have some growth and everything like that. And then I think when we got into the small little warehouse in Murray, we were probably back up to about 100.
Quite interesting. It was an empty warehouse that we had to renovate, and we renovated ourselves. And one thing most people wouldn't know is Pastor Jason painted the entire inside of the building himself. He was up 24 hours at times painting.
And that building, I still remember tearing down a wall. They had to rebuild the wall. And I don't know how much of that was to code because
I think Eric built the wall with a few helpers.
Needless to say, I wasn't an engineer, but we got 2 walls together and sheetrock on them, and might be a little flimsy, but we got it to stay up.
Structurally sound would be not how you described this wall.
I mean, the Murray building was a point of pride. We built that thing out. A lot of people put a lot of hours in that.
Our initial thing was Olympus and this huge auditorium with a small group of people. And then we got in Murray, and it felt like every week we'd come and you just had these heavy doors, and you'd open the doors and the building would be full. And it was just shocking to see how quickly that filled up. And I think that's been something that's remained pretty constant. We moved out here, and right away it was clear that we were filling the room. And then we moved, each time that we've done something like that, right away it's we're back to capacity. So it's always been filled.
Before we even left Arizona, the conversation was always, if we get to be a church of 500, then we'll look at another location. Well, everybody knows where we're at now. And we never expected God to do what God has done, and God has just absolutely moved in an amazing way.
Completely unexpected. I knew that God was going to honor the sacrifice that many of us made in the obedience of answering the call that he had on all of us. And so I knew, my expectation, honestly, and God blows them out of the water always, but my expectation that we would be, a 500 to 800 person church. And I was going to be super stoked about that. To say God can exceed expectations would be a wild understatement.
It kind of just seems like yesterday, like we just went from doing that and then here we are. And there have been ups and downs, there have been challenges, but they don't seem to matter like in this moment because it was worth it. Growth is never painless. Growth stretches you, and we've been stretched. And I'm prepared to be stretched more for everything that God has for us here and for the well and for Utah.
I mean, just when you think, oh my gosh, like we have a little more space, cute. We don't have enough space. I'm like, when can we open that west side building? Because there are so many people coming into the house who need a home, who need Jesus, who want the joy and the life and the hope that we have here. And so it's been the coolest experience, and I don't even feel like I can truly put it into words, but heaven is gonna be fuller, and it's gonna be people from Salt Lake City, Utah.
I get to watch like hundreds of people flood the altar every single Sunday to get prayer, to get encouragement. I get to watch hundreds of people say yes to Jesus every single weekend. And I just think that that's why we do this. That's the reason, is to see people grow in their faith.
I feel like the growth that we're going through right now, it's like trying to hug an elephant, which is a really weird picture, but that's what it feels like, because that's mine and Erica's heart, is like, we want to know everybody. We want to hug everybody. We want to know the stories. Erica did a beautiful message on this a little while ago about the grief of growth. But at the same time, we will never bury a talent. And as long as the Lord is moving and continues to move the way that he's moving here, we're going to keep on moving forward. We're going to keep on trying to figure out how to make space to continue to reach one more person.
It gives me faith and energy and renewance of walking into a building like this, knowing that he's got so much more in store for his body. And I'm so excited to see that.
I dream to have campuses all over the state of Utah. We are really, really needing life-giving, incredible churches who are preaching the gospel in its full truth and who are reaching the lost. And so I hope and dream that we can have campuses all over this state of Utah.
We are not tired. That's we're going to keep on running and running hard to reach just one more person. And I think what's happening in this valley right now, what's happening in our state right now, honestly, the sky's the limit. Like, listen, we've got more people to reach all across this valley. We got a west side to reach, we got north to get to, we got south to get to, and we've got college campuses that we need to get to. Like, there's so much opportunity here to continue to see God's name be made famous and continue to reach one more person who's far from God. And I'll go on record to say that is the commitment of Erica and I, and that is the commitment of our staff, that we're not looking back. And if we can continue to open doors and open spaces, then I believe that God's going to continue to build this thing and grow this thing to the praise and to the glory of his name.